Welcome to 2024, our first edition of All Access Belize. I'm your host, David Kafka, and we're here to talk about anything that has to do with Belize, the good, the bad, the ugly. We have some pre-listed questions that some people have submitted already, but this show is for you. I'm here to answer anything you have to ask. No questions are really off limit. I'm coming to you today from San Pedro, Ambergris Key, Mahogany Bay Village Resort and Beach Club, a Curio by Hilton. And we had a beautiful sunset tonight. Been beautiful weather the last couple days. I went to the pool Sunday and it was actually pretty chilly for me. Um, just beautiful weather. It's been cool, low humidity, a nice breeze going on. The island is pretty much hopping. I was in Placencia last week and people were all over the place. It's just beautiful. Nice to see, tourism is back in full force. I do think we'll hit the 500,000 mark this year in tourists, which will be our all-time high. Over 500,000, I think we'll hit in the overnight tourists. We're not talking about um, the cruise ship tourism, but cruise tourism is back better than before COVID. More boats are coming. They're talking to my buddy that is the project or the island manager at Harvest Key in Placencia, and he says they are just crazy busy right now. Whether you follow us or not, the update for JetBlue is here from JFK, which is a new, it's a new route. Our Canadian partners, they're coming longer next year. They're already jumping into May. Copa Airlines is doubling their um, flights out of Panama to twice a week instead of once a week. And that's going year round. That's not just for a certain amount of time. And what's good for Panama is that side of the country it's their slow season pretty much when it's or it's their busy season when it's our slow season. So we're offsetting seasons. So they want to travel um, when they want to travel when it's slow season here. So which is good for us. Why did I personally decide to move to Belize? And it's a pretty long story. I'll try to cut it down, and it is in um, my book that I wrote. I co-authored two books that were Amazon bestsellers. One is Think Big is the last one, and then the other one is Don't Quit: Lessons in Persistent Courage so my story is in there. But basically, I was tired of all my money going to some type of tax or insurance. I was working hard. I had a thriving landscape business in Charleston, South Carolina, and we were servicing all these second and third homes in Kiowa, Seabrook, east of the Cooper, places like that. And I was just spending so much money on workman's comp, taxes, payroll taxes, and I just don't like big government. Um, my commercial property, we got shut down before because it wasn't landscaped. We had just bought it and we were going to landscape it, but it wasn't a huge um, importance to me because nobody around me was landscaped. But yet they shut me down for it. So that kind of was a straw that broke the camel's back. And I was looking for a place for just where people would leave me alone. Government's going to leave me alone and all that. And so what I did is I was going to pick Belize, Costa Rica, and Mexico. And I picked Belize first because it was English speaking. And then once I got off the plane, there was just a feeling that I had that I knew I was quote unquote home. And then when I left, I got depressed. And so what we did is, we came back 6 months later. I was able to stay for a month at a time because my business was running with my managers and I could work from anywhere. And so we came back 6 months later for a month and we stayed 2 weeks in Placencia, 2 weeks somewhere else. Serena wanted to pick San Pedro. But I, at the time, thought it was peaked out. And was I ever wrong? But I wanted to go to the next best place, which was Placencia. And so we just tried it, right? We did that for a few years. Every 6 months, we'd come back for a month, and we stayed, 2 weeks in Placencia, 2 weeks somewhere else, and then I just got to the point where I asked Serena and her mom if they would consider moving here, and so we all know what happened in 2008, the GFC, the Great Financial Crisis. I was burnt out, and I just said, let's just let's just sell everything. Wasn't the best time, but we did. We sold everything and moved here. And February 10th will be 14 years. So 8, 9, 10. So in 2 days will be 14 years that we've been living here, or I've been living here. So that's my story. I haven't looked back. I wish I would have done it sooner. Wish I could have got established and started making money sooner, so I could have bought a lot more inventory. I do take all my money that I make in sales and I buy real estate with it. And some I'm going to keep, and some are bought to develop. And my mission is to subdivide and sell in payments for people who can't really afford, to come and pay cash here. So that's what we're working on. I just closed on a 10-acre subdivision in Hopkins. It's an 18-lot subdivision. It was already subdivided. And so we're going to start selling that probably in the next couple weeks on terms. So that's kind of, what my plan is, on top of, running the other companies that Serena helps me run. So Tammy, what is the tourism like in Placencia? How many visitors does it get per year? And what are the average occupancy rates? That is a great question, and I should know that answer, but I don't. Tourism is busy in Placencia. Placencia is the #2 tourist destination in the country. And what I have seen is it seems like more and more people are going to Placencia because they feel San Pedro is a little busy. I'm not saying San Pedro loses clientele. They still are super busy. I mean, it's busy out there right now. Hotels are full and whatnot. The Belize Tourism Board has how many visitors go to each district, and the Belize Tourism Board even breaks it down into who those visitors are. So when you come in and you fill out that form and it says, where are you from? That's what it's for. And so I can actually tell you how many visitors hit Placencia, and how many are where they're from. I'll get that together and I'll put it in a newsletter in the next week or two. I think the next couple of newsletters are scheduled, but I'll do that for 2023, our year in review, if you will. Occupancy rates average, the country average is around 50-55%, maybe 45. It was before COVID, it was like 45%, 47%. So now I'd say it's about the same. We're not really at, pre-pandemic levels, but we should get there this year. And we're seeing, tourism coming back in full force, not just tourism, agriculture. As you all know, I'm invested in agriculture, and so it's all coming back in full force. We're exporting cattle now to Mexico and things like that. So definitely, occupancy rates vary, and we'll place that on VRBO. We'll go on to or Airbnb and all that, AirDNA, and we'll find out what the average occupancy rates are for Placencia. And we'll publish that in the next couple weeks for our newsletter. So thanks for that, Ms. Campbell, Tammy. How has Belize been able to maintain its currency 2-to-1 against the US dollar all these years? So basically it's a government regulation. I mean, it can be changed with basically a cabinet meeting and 2 signatures, but it's just set, right? The banks do charge a little bit, depending on which bank you go to. They do charge 1.9825 to 1. So you get a little less, but typically it's 2 to 1. If you go to a store and you have something for $10, you can give them a 5 US and walk out the store. That'll be fine. But it is legislation, if you want to say that, if that's a good terminology. It is set kind of in stone, not permanently, because if the US dollar crashes, then what they'll do is they'll have this meeting and then they'll assign it to the next currency, if you will. So Serena put the Belize Tourism Board website up in the chat box. And if you go to the quarterly stats, it'll come up, pretty fast. What are your opinions? Leah says, what are your opinions of purchasing a villa in an HOA like Hopkins Bay Resort versus a standalone home and plantation? Very good question, Leah. It's not right or wrong. It's really what you prefer, and what kind of your goals are, right? There's pros and cons to each. A pro in Hopkins Bay Resort is kind of everything's taken care of for you. They manage it for you, they clean it for you, they do the landscaping for you, the outside of the building is taken care of, everything's done for you. The fees might be a little higher compared to a standalone home. But in a standalone home, even though we can find you a property manager, there's still going to be a little bit more hand-holding, if you will. Nobody's going to manage it like you would manage it. So you'll have to do a little bit more work. You'll have to probably have a caretaker on site, to keep from petty theft. We do have that here. If they see a house that's empty, they figure that you're not living there and they're going to help themselves to your TV or whatever pretty fast. Now, I do know several people that kind of lock the house down with hurricane shutters and all that, and it's fine. So it's definitely not a right or wrong answer. It's definitely something we can talk about if you have ask any questions, additional questions that you have. I'm personally not a fan of HOAs. However, I just bought a house in Mexico in an HOA. So it just kind of depends. But I bought the one in Mexico because I want them to mow the yard. There's a pool that they take care of. There's a children's play area that they take care of. And it's cool, right? That they take care of everything and the fees weren't that bad. So great question. Thank you for that. I hope that explained it, my opinion on it. And if you have any additional questions, feel free. Y'all are knocking out some great questions. What's your experience with the cost of building supplies in Belize versus the US? Everything in Belize is going to be more expensive because of the duty and to ship it in and things like that. We have seen a spike in prices, especially in things that come from the US, like our lumber. When the US lumber went high, our lumber didn't go up as high because we switched to a different provider. They were getting plywood from Brazil. And so instead of seeing, the stamp on the side of the plywood, from the US or Canada, it would say from Brazil. And they kept their prices kind of right in line. So supplies are going up, labor is going up. So the cost of houses is unfortunately going up. Everything is costing more. I know we're seeing it in the grocery stores. The gas pumps have always been high, but we're definitely seeing, higher prices. Can you review homeowners insurance in Belize? We have heard a few different stories. Yeah, so we have what we call all perils insurance in Belize. And what that is, in one of our All Access Belize, we were interviewing Marcia Gill, who is my insurance provider. And she was talking about, insurance. Sorry. So we have all perils insurance. So like when I was in Charleston and I had my house on Johns Island, I bought flood insurance. I had to buy regular insurance. I had to buy a rider for hurricane and earthquake and things like that. In Belize, it is all perils, which is it means there are no riders. So it covers everything. Excuse me one second. You just call up an insurance company. It's not as easy like in the States. You just call them up, fill out the application. They kind of want to come out and see it. They want to, just really get in depth on it just to get a quote. But they're getting to the point where they're doing some quotes real pretty close. And then, once you buy the insurance, then they'll come out before you pay and give you, take pictures and all that. Um, and then what you can do here too, and I don't recommend it, is what I do is I have one house insured, one house not. So I'm kind of hedging the risk, right? Which kind of goes into a hurricane frequency and intensity question that I see we're going to answer in a bit. But I'm just kind of playing that. It's Russian, not, I wouldn't say Russian roulette. It's basically gambling, right? So I'm gambling that, I'll sock money away, and if nothing happens, I'll invest that money short-term treasury or something like that instead of giving it to an insurance company. But however, one house I do have insured. The Mexico house I have insured too. But it's really good insurance. No insurance company in Belize holds the whole risk, right? They have what we call reinsurers. If you've heard of Lloyd's of London, and there's others, they kind of share the risk, right? And so what they do is they sell a certain amount of risk. And so insurance is going up, not because of issues in Belize, but because of issues in the Caribbean itself. So prices have gone up because of those reasons. Sometimes as much as 20, 30%. And it does depend on what the house is made of. So if you have a concrete house, your insurance is going to be cheaper. If you have a HOA, going back to the other question, typically that insurance is covered in the HOA for the exterior of the building, and you just get like your homeowner's policy for your contents insurance, right? And that is pretty inexpensive. That's probably 700, 800, 900, 1,000 Belize dollars for the year for, $20,000, $30,000 coverage of your contents. So the next question is requirements for gaining citizenship in Belize, possible second passport. Yeah. So if you followed me for a bit, I am a dual citizen. I do have my two passports. So you have to be in the country for a year without leaving for more than 2 weeks. And it can be a couple days here, a couple days there, or it can be a week here, week there. It can be 2 weeks altogether, right? So once you do that, you qualify for for being a resident, and you go get a resident stamp. You fill out the application. A lot of this stuff is going online now, and it's more digital. When we did it, it was definitely, a lot slower pace. You had to go in and do interviews and things like that. I think you still do the interview, but it's you can do the paperwork and everything online. And then when the time comes, you get I don't think they put a card in your passport now, or some kind of paper in your passport. We had a stamp, but they don't do the stamp no more. And then you get a card, a resident card, that you can. And then once you're a resident for 5 years and you're living in the country for 5 years legally, you don't have to live in the country. Once you're a resident for 5 years, right? You can qualify for nationality. Nationality, you get the same thing. You do through the same application, blood work, doctor visit, all that. And then you have little swearing in ceremony. And then you get a piece of paper that says you are a national, a Belize national, or nationalized. And then you take that to get the Belize passport. And all that's done online now too. So the passports are digital now. So it's getting a lot easier. You still have times to wait where it's going to take about a year or so, depending on when you apply and how many people are applying. There are a lot of people coming here and living here. There's a lot of people not happy with their government. Not going to pick on the US because it's other countries as well, right, that I talk to. And they're just not happy with the way things are going, the school systems and things like that. And so they want to come here. And so that's the path to come here. You do get a tourist visa when you come here that's good for 30 days. And then before that 30 days is up, like day 29 or day 30, you go and get your passport stamped for another 30 days. If you get a work permit, then the stamp goes away. Your fee for the work permit covers that. And then it's good for a year. And then after that year, you reapply for your work permit because it's going to take some time to get your residency. Yeah, that's kind of the ticket. Then you have the qualified retirement program. We just did a update on that, and we're going to have my lawyer Ryan Robel on in a couple months, and he will give us an update on the qualified retirement program because they lowered the age from 45 to 40, and they're also allowing many different types of income. Before it was just strict, like strict income of some sort. Now they're allowing passive income from the States or North America. They're allowing pensions, they're allowing Social Security, they're allowing all these different types of, if you have a business and it's paying you, it's allowing you all kinds of information. Or all kinds of income. So it's getting a lot easier, and they're really trying to pick up that qualified retirement program. And that allows you to bring in a car, a boat, a plane, all duty free, plus your household items. So if you're planning on, doing that, then that might be worth an option to look at. The income is still, $24,000 a year, Belize, $12,000, US a year. So it is an application through the Belize Tourism Board. So it's definitely, easy to apply, and you can do that online as well. Part-time employment in Belize, are taxes reported back to Uncle Sam for money earned in Belize? Is there a limit? No. So that's a good question. I don't think we've ever had that question before. If you're living in Belize for a certain amount of days, you get what is called a Belize or not a Belize, it's called a foreign earned income credit. So I qualify for that. And I think last year it was $120,000 or something like that. So I'm allowed to make $120,000 tax free. Now, if we go over that, then what we can do is we can, fill out the long form with all of our deductions and things like that. I'm not a tax CPA, so get with your tax professional and they can answer it. But this is what I practice and what I do. And so you get dollar for dollar credit with taxes in what you pay in Belize, but you also get to use the deductions. So I never really end up, sometimes I get money back and I never put any money in, which I don't understand, but it is what it is. And then there's sometimes, we don't owe nothing, right? You still get write-offs depending on, your tax situation, like you get depreciation. So I can depreciate my houses off of my taxes in Belize and Mexico. I can, my trips to Mexico are tax deducted when I go check on my house. So when you come into Belize, you can write those trips off, things like that. So all that can help. Now, if you're working in Belize part-time and you're living part-time in Belize, part-time in the US, no, Belize does not report that. The onus is on you. And if you follow, what the government is doing, they spent a lot of money at hiring a lot of IRS auditors. So I definitely wouldn't. I was just listening to one of my mentor groups. There was a CPA on there, and they were talking about audits. What they're trying to do is they're trying to set things in place to where the penalties are just outrageous. So if you set up a company in the US, you have to, within 90 days, apply who the shareholders are, right? And you can do it yourself, but it's like a $500 a day fine after 90 days. So you really, they're just making the fine so expensive. So it's just they're doing things to control where the money's going. They see the money is leaving and fleeing, and so they're trying to, get their hands on some. And what they're going to do is they're just going to penalize us, if you will. There is no limit on how much money you can make in anywhere, right? You can make as much as you want. I would just work with a good tax professional to pay the least amount of taxes you are legally responsible to pay. I'm a real estate guy. I eat, sleep, and breathe real estate, and so are a lot of other people, and they pay little to no tax because of that. If you're in the US, you can have cost segregations and do bonus depreciation. There's ways you can get your tax down quite a bit. So that's a conversation we can kind of have offline, if you want, or ask me some more questions about it. Hurricanes frequency and intensity. Belize is not on. My mentor has a slide in his presentation, and I have it on my computer somewhere. The top 52 most hit destinations with hurricanes, and Belize is not even on that list. It's not 53 either. He just could only fit 52 on a slide, and it's just not even on there. It's places like the Bahamas, Savannah, Georgia. There's some places in South Carolina. Of course, Florida, is on there. So places like that have more of a chance of getting hit with a hurricane. The reason why I believe we don't get hit that often is because the water is pretty shallow inside the reef. And, it doesn't let the hurricane build up a lot. Even though it's warm water, it just doesn't give it a lot of water to build up. Plus, we have the Mayan Mountains that kind of pushes it more to the Yucatan. Of course, the hurricanes in Africa will not, they can't come here because they can't go down south. The ones we have to worry about are kind of the ones that form off the coast of the Caribbean, right? Those are the ones we have to worry about because they form fast and they can do a lot of damage. Last year, I think we had a category 1 or a category 2. And then I was in our house in Placencia. Melissa was at our house here. And we talked the whole time. We didn't lose power. I didn't lose internet. We've had thunderstorms that were a lot worse than the hurricanes. It's not that it's not a concern. We always have to be vigilant. We always have to not get lazy because you never know if it turns the last minute or whatnot. But it's not something that we are worried about, 24/7. So great questions, everyone. I love all the questions coming in. So Leah is saying, if we are considering a house purchase that we would use to vacation, but also offset by renting, what are the 3 top towns you like most? What size houses rent the most for attractive rentals? A ton of 2-bedroom houses, 2-bedroom condos, 1-bedroom condos. I don't think you need those. I think what's needed is 3+, right? Your own swimming pool is high on the list. In my opinion, it's a must. The rentals will far exceed the cost of the pool, and would probably be your best return on investment. My 3 top towns. I mean, it's hard for me to say what is great for you and what you like. I mean, if it's strictly ROI, I would pick, something in San Pedro, I'd pick maybe Placencia and probably Hopkins if you want, water towns. But you could pick something in the interior in Cayo. It's a very popular area. People spend usually around 8 to 10 days here, and they're typically doing a jungle slash beach destination. So they're doing, 4 days in the jungle and 4 or 5 days on the beach. So it's, those would be kind of, what what I would say. I don't think anybody should tell you where to buy. I think you need to feel it if you're doing it for lifestyle, right? You have ROI on this side and you have lifestyle on this side. If you're talking about lifestyle, then you definitely need to visit each of those locations and kind of get a feel for each one yourself. I say spend no less than 4 days. And then, just you'll weed out some and then maybe go back a second time and pick those, see if you like it still. If it's somewhere in the middle, then you just have to decide, by what feels right. I have rentals in all three areas. Well, not in Placencia. I have my house in Placencia, but I have it in Hopkins and I have something in San Pedro. So it's yeah, I mean, I like all three markets. 3+ bedrooms. The size of the house isn't really too big. I mean, is it too big of a concern? I would do, a decent, nice kitchen because people like to travel together. They like to cook sometimes. But the key is the outdoor area because we live outdoors. So, do a nice, if you do a 1,200 square foot house, do a 700 to 1,500, 2,000 square foot deck, right? With a swimming pool. So great question. Mike saying, how practical is it to purchase a piece of land and build in Cayo region as a partial year resident? Winters. I'm concerned with how to maintain a house while away, keep the jungle and termites at bay, and a house secured. I'm sure it's doable, but what are the practicalities? Does an established small development resolve many of these concerns? If so, how? I don't think there's a lot of actual subdivisions. It's all kind of, country, but you do have a lot of, areas. If you're talking something with some land on it, I personally would always say have a caretaker. And the caretaker, you'll pay them, I don't know, maybe $1,500 to $2,000 a month plus Belize, right? Plus, you'll give them a house and utilities and things like that. And then what they're going to do is they'll be there for security. They're your worker, right? They're not working anywhere else, right? You can pay somebody a lot less and then they work elsewhere and then they just do the yard and maybe, pay them a little bit to do, the termites and things like that. But depending on the size or the piece of land and how much you want to keep maintained, I'd say hire somebody, let them live on the property and maintain it. They'll cut the grass, they'll clean the house. You always want to run the air conditioner, run the stove and things like that just to keep it running, right? Because it's a harsh environment. And the worst thing that you can do is have it sit. Just in the 5, 6 years I've been, I live back and forth. Last 2 weeks I was in Placencia. This 2 weeks I'm in San Pedro. Then it's 2 weeks, 2 weeks. My house is in Placencia, things are just breaking because they're not used as much. But what's not breaking is the refrigerator because it stays on and it's running. So that's what I would say do is hire somebody. They kind of maintain it. Have some dogs. I always, recommend dogs. They don't have to be mean, but they just bark when they see somebody they don't know. So that's definitely, what I recommend. It's definitely doable though. Just depending, I wouldn't do it and leave the house alone is what I wouldn't do. And call somebody to do the yard whenever, or call a, if you have a property manager that can go and check on the house, that might be doable as well, especially if you have hurricane shutters and things like that. So there's definitely ways to do it. You just got to calculate the risk versus reward type thing, is what I say. What are some key things to know about, what are some key and local laws? Um, it's a, it's a two-party system, just like North America. We're more like Canada because we're a British Commonwealth, so we don't have a president. We have a prime minister, but he doesn't go around with, Air Force One or anything like that. I mean, they're approachable here. The laws are the laws, just like anywhere else. Maybe you can maybe give me an example of kind of what you're asking. It's definitely a two-party system, and the parties are not like, you know, forgive me for saying this, but the US, where it's total polar opposites, right? Yeah, they always fight here too. They're always talking, but like right now, they're putting signs up for the election this year. As soon as the election's over, it goes down and everybody goes back to normal. So it's definitely a lot easier. The government here is not a big government. My tax form is 1 page, right? There's no deductions. It's a flat tax. So we talk about having big government and having little government. Belize has a little government, and I like it so much better. They don't mess with you. They don't pick on you. They have laws, right? There's laws on not cutting down mangroves. So if you cut down a mangrove and you get caught, then it is a crime. You're going to get fined. You won't go to jail or anything like that. The firearm laws are strict. As long as you follow the laws, as long as you, um, just do those laws, like, for instance, I can't have more than 100 bullets a year. As long as I stay under those 100 bullets, I'm fine. If I have 101 bullet, I can go to jail for that one bullet. So when I buy bullets, if I have over 100, I donate the balance to the police department. And that's kind of what I do, right? So, yeah, if you want to tell me a little bit more about kind of questions on the government, just let me know, and I can, see if I can answer and answer a little bit better. Steven's asking, if you buy a property that is in a rental program, how much control do you have over how much access the owner might have? Man, that's a gold question there. It's different at every place. So here at Mahogany Bay Resort, there's no restriction. But if you go to the Marriott, there is a 6-week restriction. Now, I think they're a little lax with it, but there was a resort in Placencia called Umaya. There is a resort in Placencia called Umaya. They used to have a 30-day rule, right? And after that, it had to be in the rental program. So they changed that, and so it's pretty it's up to every resort, and you need to ask that question. I have a lot of people also that ask me, how much is the HOA for this, or how much is the HOA for that? In my opinion, the HOA doesn't matter. What matters is what is included in that HOA. I have some resorts that are 80-20. 80% goes to the owner, 20% goes to the property manager, but you're responsible for A to Z. And it ends up being a lot more than a 50-50, if you will, that pays for everything. So always ask A, and you'll never find this in Google. So write this down. You'll never find anything on Google about how do you get paid if you're in the rental program. Are you going to get paid in Belize dollars, or are you going to get paid in US dollars? You don't want Belize dollars because it's not a hard currency. You can't go to the US and buy stocks with that, right? Or buy gold, or you can buy property or businesses in Belize, but majority of the sales are for U.S. They're for U.S. Sellers, so they want U.S. money. Then you want to ask what the split is and what is covered. And then you want to ask that question about, is there any restrictions? And if pets are big to you, like pets are big to me, you want to ask if it's pet friendly. So those are great questions, and make sure you ask those questions. What's the benefit of becoming a legalized citizen of Belize? There's not a lot, other than you can vote in the elections that are coming up for the prime minister. You could get leased property, which there's not, I mean, there is a lot left, but it's hard to get. But I bought a leased property from a bank auction last year, paid like, I don't know, like 5,000 Belize dollars for a property in Golden Stream, Punta Gorda area, or Big Falls, Golden Stream area. So, you know, the legal team is converting it into a lease, or the lease to a title, and then I'll have title on it. But there are ways to get government property if you are a Belize citizen. Other than that, your residency works just as good, right? If you don't care about elections or anything like that, then there's really no, I just like it because I wanted a plan B. I don't want nobody telling me I have to go back to the US, or I have to go back to this country or that country. If I want to stay, I want to stay. You know, I want to be here legally. And if they say you have to have a passport, I wanted to have that passport. Anonymous. Oh, sorry. How risky do you feel the real estate market compared to, yeah. Man. Um, it's buyer beware. It's very risky, right? Yeah. I mean, what can I say? I'm in real estate, you know, so hopefully when you're listening to this and you're ready to buy, you reach out, and we can help you, right? Um, we run our business like a U.S. company, because I'm not going to risk one sale for um, my franchises, right? I own 3 franchises in the country. I'm not going to risk that, right? I have a lot of employees that answer to us and all that. But there are no disclosure laws, right? There's no laws in general. You right there are qualified to be a real estate person here once you get um, a work permit, you know. So why I got in the business was because I saw so many crooked real estate people making a lot of money. And I thought, you know, if they can do it, why can't I do it? Do it honestly, ethically, and do it the way it should be doing. Now, granted, they're making a lot more money because they are crooked, but I sleep good at night, and I don't have the FIU or people getting killed because of me doing things wrong, like some real estate companies are in this country. And I'll say nothing else about that. You can Google it and see, you know, what I'm talking about. So it's definitely, you want a agent that will show you everything, right? Because there is no MLS system here. What you see on any given real estate company's website is probably half of the market, right? Because we all cross market different products, right? There's listings on my website that are not mine. They're Century 21s, they're other companies, right? Keller Williams and other Remax companies. And so when you have an agent that's working for you, you've got to be honest with them. Don't work with 5 or 6 different agents. You find one, you pick one that you like, and you let that person help you. And then they will, if they're doing their job, they will show you, they will go look at every listing that's on the market that meets your criteria. For me, if you tell me your budget's at 500, I'm not looking at 505, you know, so you got to be honest. You got to tell me exactly what your max budget is, because I'm going to go from, 100,000 to 500,000. The only exception is if I know somebody is kind of overpriced and I have comparable markets of what this unit should sell for. And then we can reason with the listing agent, or if I'm the listing agent, then, we can do it that way. So definitely it's risky. We are hoping legislation will come in soon. It's been going on for a long time, but they just have to change the Constitution. And so the legislation. So it's taken a bit, right? Like everything here takes a while. But hopefully they'll have a licensing board coming up and all that. So we are good. We're at, hey, David, my favorite law is uttering. Cursing at public is it. Yep, there are some crimes that are still on the books here. I think there's some other ones that I won't mention on here, but there are some stupid laws still, like in any country, if you will. So definitely, we have 10 minutes left. So any other questions, let me know. I'll tell you, Serena put in there, Marcia, the All Access Belize that talked about insurance. Here's some dates I kind of want to talk to you about. The next All Access Belize is March 7th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And listen who our guest is. See if I can say it without coughing. Mike Anderson. He is they own a mortgage company in the US, and they are starting to they're starting to give Americans loans on property in Belize. Now, right now it's at an infancy. So I'm just going to whet your appetite a little bit on that. And then I want you to join in March 7th, where you'll learn kind of their plan to bring American financing to Belize. And we're kind of hoping to, kind of help them any way we can with that. But he'll also go over, and if you're in the middle and wanting to hurry and buy something, and you want to know what they're offering, then you can email me and I'll give you their brochure. But I think it's what is it, Serena? It's expat financing or expats in Belize financing or something like. Just send me an email and I'll send you their link. But it has to do with kind of what you have assets in the U.S. So they don't put a lien. Expatlenders.com. That's it. So go to that website. Some exciting stuff, because you know what happens when affordable financing comes to any market, the prices will go up. And I have a lot of property that I want to refinance and pull some equity out. So again, March 7th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. David Santilli, he's one of my partners in the Finca Chocolat farm. So we're going to do a webinar update on what's going on in the farm, kind of what we're doing and things like that. That's February 22nd at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time. And then we're going to be promoting our Finca tour. So that's where you stay at my hotel, Mariposa Resort and Beach Club in Placencia. And we stay there, and it's the 23rd to the 26th. And then we do a chocolate experience at the hotel. And then we get up early in the morning and we have breakfast. Then we go and tour the farm. And then we go and have lunch at Coleman's Cafe. And then we go and tour a Mayan ruin. And then from there we have dinner. And then the next one is the next day, we're kind of answering questions, touring Placencia. No, we don't. I'm sorry. You have your choice of either a jungle tour or a snorkeling tour. And then the next day, we kind of tour Placencia. And, we talk about Placencia while we're driving off the peninsula as well. So that is, again, the farm tour is May 23rd to the 26th. We do have kind of limited space, but we do want everybody to come if you can, and if you're interested in learning what David and I are doing at the farm. What else? Yeah, okay. So again, that webinar is the 22nd at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and the farm tour is the 23rd to the 26th. Serena will put, or she already did. It will tell you the itinerary, the cost, and everything. We'd love to have you. So Leia's saying, are there any beachfront areas that have good snorkeling directly off the property, or do all areas require boating to the reef? No, there's always good snorkeling all around. There's always places you can go, around San Pedro and go off the beach and do some. There are in Maya Beach, there's a reef that kind of goes just off the coast of Maya Beach. There's an artificial, not an artificial reef. It's a reef, a natural reef that goes quite, around there that you can snorkel to. I will tell you to just be mindful when you're snorkeling, have like a little buoy or something that shows that you're snorkeling, or diving or something like that. Just so boaters can see. And when you snorkel, that buoy kind of follows you around. We did have a accident last year where a tourist got hit by a boat and killed her. She was snorkeling but didn't have um, any of those. So we want to do safe snorkeling and make sure that you do that, right, when you're snorkeling. But there's a lot of good snorkeling just right off. A lot of the keys, like for instance in Placencia, you can you can kayak to Placencia Key, you can kayak to False Key, and all around those keys on the opposite side is some good snorkeling. There's some reefs and things like that. So you don't have to have a boat to go out. You can always do that, and you can find some good ones, and then you can come tell us, and then we can go out and find some as well together. All right, everyone. Thank you. Any last questions? We have a couple minutes. I want to thank you again for having us. Again, if you're looking for real estate, reach out and give us a chance, right? If you're not happy with your agent, reach out with us and we'll try to steer you in the right direction. Our goal is to collapse timeframes. What took me 10 years to learn, I want to do it for you in a few months and then get you up and running. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you so much for listening. And again, subscribe to David Kafka YouTube channel and tell your friends if you know people that are coming to Belize and looking at Belize. I do this because I want to educate you and I want to see you not lose money because of the lack of regulations. So please reach out if you have any questions, and have a blessed week and month, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.